The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Seven minutes after 12 midday. Fast am I. Good afternoon. Welcome to Mannin Line on Manx Radio. We're open line today through till 1. Tomorrow, David Ashford, MHK, will be in. But in the meantime, whatever's on your mind, the lines are open. The floor is yours. What's on your mind today? Well, we may get to the fact this Public Accounts Committee has been talking about the Isle of Man Ferry Terminal project in Liverpool, which they say rushed delivery timescale, inadequately planned and hopelessly ambitious in its initial budgeting. That's what the PAC had to say. And also the fact that Wright's Pit at the moment is illegal. Tynwald committees raised concerns that a planning inspector had been misled over the DOI's application to extend the use of Wright's Pit North to 2030. So that and anything else. I got a message in from Texter 640 just said, my road tax has gone up from £274 to £302 for a 1600cc vehicle. How then can this be fair to us? And also fuel is up as well. So the government isn't helping motorists at all. Sean in Douglas. So vehicle licence tax has gone up. And remember, the government is taking its slice of all the fuel you buy in VAT and fuel duty as well. Texter 011, a lady yesterday, it was Elizabeth who called in about the problem she's been having with roofers. And we don't know the terms or the conditions or anything. And it was 7 years ago of the roofer that she got. But she's been having terrible problems with that roof, and it hasn't been sorted. And the Office of Fair Trading always talks about using people that are registered, companies that are registered with the government. So, but on that subject, and I'm not saying this is applicable in this case, it's just a comment by 011, the OFT know who the cowboy roofers are, but they can't be bothered. Any thoughts on that? Have you now lots of answers to yesterday regarding the sand and the beach, the height of the beach in Douglas. So they need to see the calculations and talk to the designers, say this. I don't think moving a few stones in front of the seawall is going to reduce the height of the Irish Sea. It's not the height of the Irish Sea we're bothered about, 152. It's the height of Douglas Beach and the fact that it just seems to have an inexorable rise and will just, at the moment, is up by, I mean, if you buy the Palace hotel, you can virtually walk straight out onto the beach, whereas once upon a time, if you walked off the edge of the prom, you break your leg falling down onto the beach. So the answer to Douglas Prom is to listen to Wilf, says John. Wilf, I think it was Howard as well, talking yesterday about what we need to do. Port Erin Beach is lovely and dog-free in summer. But now it's a beach for dogs. They're being left to run around. There was talk yesterday about also dog mess being left on Douglas Promenade. And this always comes back to the few, isn't it? It's the few people who spoil it for everyone else, whether it's inconsiderate dog walkers who don't clear up after themselves and the dog, inconsiderate users of fast food who are content to throw all their detritus here, there and everywhere and let somebody else pick it up. Inconsiderate cyclists who cycle on pavements and in pedestrianised areas. Inconsiderate car drivers who park in disabled spaces when they're not allowed to, or hem those disabled spaces in so they're virtually unusable. So it all comes back, doesn't it, to the inconsiderate few who ruin it for everyone else. Now, how you get round that? Well, I'd be really happy if you can solve that one between now and 1 o'clock this afternoon. It would be extremely interesting. Were you at that meeting yesterday? Residents voiced their opinions about protecting wildlife and the cost of the wind farm proposals in the south. This was last night. Were you there, that public meeting? It was at, I think there were between 50 and 70 people at the meeting. And this was the one at the Station Hotel in Port St Mary. Residents in the south had various speakers on wind farms, geothermal energy, and how renewable energy can actually be financed. Were you there? What did you think of it all? Stephen's on now. Hi, Stephen.
Good afternoon, Andy, and most importantly, good afternoon, listeners. I wonder, could I speak about... there were some questions in Keys this week by Mr. Thomas MHK to the Department for Enterprise Minister, and it's about the fund, the money that they have committed to infrastructure schemes to date, which would appear to be an extremely large amount of money, £25 million. But it appears that this money is being given to developers to develop apartments, etc., large developers. So I do not quite follow the infrastructure, the Department of Enterprises Minister's idea that this is infrastructure. I do not understand why we are giving large amounts of public money to private developers when, if we've got 5,000 empty properties on the island, and yet even the occupied properties, if you want to improve it, there is no grant aid schemes available for property owners to carry out any works. So it seems to be a disconnect between ordinary people who need help to improve properties and also bring single properties back into use, no funding, and yet large developers seem to be getting help to develop, to help to build property. And yet, Andy, it would appear that there is no shortage of buyers who are prepared to come along and buy property. So I question, why is this happening? How on earth can that be described as infrastructure? To me, government funds should be for essential items and areas to stimulate the market where there is a lack of something. And as far as I'm aware, reading the papers, hearing Manx Radio, there is no shortage of buyers to buy properties developed by private developers.
I wonder,
why is this happening?
Do you think that, you mentioned the latter thing that you mentioned there was to stimulate the economy. Do you think the government thinks that by putting this money to the large developers, and obviously the developments on Douglas Promenade, the old villas and what have you.
The one in Port Erin?
Yeah, the one in Port Erin. Do you think that that's the government thinking, that by, if you like, pump priming big developers, it will create momentum within the economy and, importantly, hire people, give people jobs?
Well, it's a false economy, surely. It's the government actually funding this bubble by using our reserves. Now, I'm not an economist, and I don't know much about the economy, but I would have thought that is a false way to stimulate an economy, because once your money has been spent by government, and if we're not providing real jobs for the future which can be sustained in a long and meaningful manner, then once this pump priming is gone, it'll disappear again. So I suppose what I'm saying is, it's the government using the funds to create this false bubble, which eventually will burst. And as I say again, there is no shortage of buyers. Now, I know some people will criticise and say, yes, but they're buyers from off island. But if as it's not, I do not support this. If it's the Chief Minister's view that we should increase the population by a significant number, then there is no problem to find buyers to punt prime the building. It doesn't need pump priming. It's overflowing. And I would have thought where the government funds should be is to maintain the structures that we've got. There's little maintenance done around the island. Look at the road signage, for example, on the roads. So I do feel that this money is being targeted in the wrong manner.
I mean, particularly, as you mentioned, some dilapidated properties that are sitting there like museum pieces, rotting museum pieces around the island. Everybody knows them. Everybody sees them every day. And we kind of get used to the fact that we've got rotting private houses around.
Absolutely. If you remember that, I think it was 2 to 3 years ago in Liverpool, I know they were bought up by the council and they sold the properties very cheaply on condition that the purchasers had to fund the repairs within a period of time to get them back into use. But there seems no appetite from central government to help single owner people, single owner occupiers, and first-time buyers who may wish to buy an older property that needs renovation with funding of this type. So why is it that it's only targeting a market that I would suggest does not need any help whatsoever?
Well, that's certainly a question. That's certainly a question we can put to the chairman of the housing board tomorrow, David Ashford, when he comes in. Because if you're disenfranchising people from improving their kind of status, their property status, and their houses on the Isle of Man, surely, as you say, there's a disconnect there between government policy and how people feel they're being treated.
Oh, absolutely, and I do hope that you could ask this question. So, there's two strands to it. Firstly, is the government itself creating this false bubble of the economy booming and properties selling by them helping with enormous sums for private developers? Secondly, why will they not provide help for single-owner occupiers or people who may wish to buy older, dilapidated properties that need renovation? Who decided this policy, and where has it come from? It seems discriminatory, also, to only give the money to large property developers, and yet single property owners can't access this market. So it seems discriminatory as well to me. I think Chris Thomas has made mention of this fund. To me, infrastructure is building and supporting the infrastructure, possibly with hospitals and doctors' surgeries. But this leads on to the running down of our reserves constantly. If we're giving this money out to a market that doesn't really need help, and we've got all these other schemes coming along, we'll be increasing the amount of money we take from reserves. Never mind trying to reduce it.
Okay, Stephen, I appreciate that. I've jotted that down for David Ashford tomorrow.
Thanking you.
All right, good to hear from you. And Jenny's with us now. Hi, Jenny. You chaired the meeting last night, didn't you, in Port St Mary?
I did, and I thought it went very well, although, as I didn't say, unaccustomed as I am to public speaking, never having done anything like that before, I hope I did my best. But it seemed quite well received. So this morning, having read the report that was done on the Max Radio website, I would say quite rightly so, some people said that they would like more information. So we've had a bit of discussion amongst ourselves who were organising it and our speakers who were also part of our group of organisers. And we've sort of come up with an idea, and I don't know what people would think about this, that we base ourselves back in the railway station hotel in Port St Mary one evening or a lunchtime on a weekend and just invite people to drop in and have a chat. So nothing formal, the information that they'd like. Hopefully we can help with the information that we have. So it was just an idea, what people's thoughts were on that. Would a drop-in session be helpful? Also, there were people there from island-wide and some residents who came from the north invited us to go and do the presentation again up north. We had people there from Peel as well, so people did come from far and wide, so to speak. And although some of us who are, well, we call ourselves a group, we're just a group of concerned residents and taxpayers. Some of us do live in the south, but amongst our numbers who helped organise last night, we've got members from Onken and from Ramsey. So we're not just a southern-based group, and it's not just us because of the proposed wind farm site, because we're not just concerned about a wind farm. To be honest, as Peter Caron so eloquently put, it's the spending of the money that we don't have on government projects, and we'd like to thank Peter for his input, and he has become part of our sort of little group of organising things.
What was the mood of the meeting like, Jenny?
It was, as we hoped, people listened, and it was quiet and respectful. I did invite Paul Weatherall, for the chairman of the Liberal Vannin Party, knowing his views are very much for the wind farm, because we did want to have a representation of all views. Other people who might be, for it might have information and things that we don't know. And I did read a comment from Paul Weatherall on one of the Facebook groups, the Alabama Politics page, I think, group, saying that we were all very respectful and he was welcomed, which I hoped was the atmosphere that we would create. I would say the people who came mostly, for the most part, in fact almost everybody apart from one or two, are not for the wind farm, but it wasn't just about a wind farm. It's about government spending and the fact that the people aren't being listened to, not just about wind farms, but about all manner of large projects. We've heard about the seawall. There was a general mood amongst everybody that government are just not listening. And this open and honest, transparent government that we were promised is just not true. If you send in a Freedom of Information request, yes, they reply, and basically it says, "Dear whoever," and then the whole lot's redacted and blacked out, love from the government. So they answered, but
have you organised your next meeting yet, Jenny?
We haven't as yet, because Julian isn't available for the next couple of weeks. So we want a bit of a chance to regroup and have a bit of a debrief on how it went last night, what we changed, how things, what went well, what didn't go well. So we thought, rather than lose momentum, once Julian's available again, to have just an informal drop-in session, and Rowena, the landlady at the railway station hotel, kindly agreed again to host that for us if it goes ahead. So that will be the next thing, just for get some more information out there, if people, if that's what people want. And then we're going to organise another presentation as soon as we can all get together again for the people of the North who invited us up there, and take it from there, really.
Okay, all right. We appreciate that update, Jenny. Thanks for calling today.
You're welcome. Take care.
Good to hear from you. 12:25. This is the meeting that was held last night at the Station Hotel, as Jenny says, in Port St Mary, which she chaired. It was there to discuss onshore and offshore wind farm proposals that could be developed on the island, organised by residents in the south, various speakers and what have you. Our local democracy reporter Emma Draper was there with a radio microphone. She went to the meeting. You'll hear Tim Glover, MHK, Liberal Vannin Chair Paul Weatherall, and former government minister Peter Caron was there.
Well, I think the point is what we need to be on about is the basics of the economics. We've watched and worked very hard and sacrificed for years being virtually on our own when we were in Timberland. And the position is I fear that there's going to be an absolute economic meltdown before long. At the end of the day, you can't spend what you don't earn. What we've got is we've got more and more debts. We've got deficit spending every year. And this is not a new phenomenon in the last sort of 5 or 6 years, which has got to be sorted out. And adding this, it'd be all right for the people. Freedom to flourish should be for all, not for the few to fleece the rest of us. And I think the serious issues that has been raised by Julian on this project, and what we need to do is we need to have people starting to take ownership of the policies that are being given out, which are not just affecting us, but affecting the next generation.
And why did you decide to come down to the meeting tonight?
Because it's affecting a lot of people in the constituency, and I'm here to represent the constituents that I've been elected by. Peter made some very good points, and I share those concerns as well. I mean, we've had a report out literally today from the Public Accounts Committee where they said that the time frame was ambitious, it's too short, that there was a lack of preparation ahead of the whole project. Got the phrase here that's in the report, a hopelessly ambitious and unrealistic budget. That's ringing alarm bells to me, to what we're seeing here with the wind farm.
I'm Paul Weatherall, I'm Chair of Liberal Mannin. I was invited by Jenny Bean to find out more about the geothermal option.
And what did you make of the presentations that you heard?
It was interesting, but I don't think all of the facts were given. The costs of putting the boreholes down is only part of the situation. You then have to have a power station. How much is that going to cost? So the figures being bandied about are misleading.
And what would you suggest be the future for the island for sustainable energy?
I think we've got to keep all options open for the long term, but the immediate solution is an onshore wind farm to provide the 10 megawatts that the government has decided we need by 2026 as part of its action plan.
There we go. Some of the people last night at that meeting, and as soon as another one's organised, you'll hear about it on Manx Radio. No doubt Julian will be on to tell us about it, but any thoughts on the matter? Mannin Line's job isn't to express any sort of opinion. We'll certainly facilitate opinion. We'll give voice to what your opinion is, but obviously we just need the aim of the programme is to get as much information out as possible so you can make an informed decision and a choice. Obviously the government has decided, and remember, all the candidates in the election 2 years ago cloaked themselves in green ambition and they got voted in. So there is a public mandate. So we're heading towards this renewable energy and a greener way of living. How we do it, how much it costs, well, we don't quite know. But sure as anything, we know who's going to pay.
Have you seen Skipton's savings rates? They're offering a fixed rate of 5.65% gross AER when depositing £50,000 or more. The account matures on the 15th of January 2025.
Wow, that's much more than my bank's paying on my savings.
It's time to switch to Skipton. Call 730 730 or visit skiptoninternational.com. No withdrawals allowed until maturity. Interest is paid annually and upon maturity. Skipton International is licensed to take deposits by the GFSC and is a participant in the Guernsey Banking Deposit Compensation Scheme. Details at dcs.gg.
Choose Manx Glass and Glazing for supply only or supply and installation of a wide range of quality products. All types of glazing work undertaken, plus fabulous doors and conservatories in both traditional and contemporary styles. And whether UPVC or aluminium, you can be sure of excellent workmanship and guarantees at Manx Glass and Glazing. See for yourself when you visit the showroom on Snugborough Trading Estate. Manx Glass and Glazing. Quality and style since 1986.
For your new bathroom, head to Pacesetter, Harris Terrace, Douglas or Spring Valley. In Pacesetter's fully fitted showroom, you'll find the latest bathroom products and designs, from new contemporary styles to traditional Victorian tiles, wall and ceiling panels, accessories and much more. With many ranges exclusive to Pacesetters, plus professional design advice from the experts, visit Pacesetter, Harris Terrace, Douglas or Spring Valley.
You can get the best of everything, where the price is twice as nice.
Strandvets.com. Taking on new equine patients. Prompt appointments, test results, instant x-rays, horse health plan from $18.50 a month, dental care and more. Call Strand Vets on 835 424.
Get ready for another winning weekend on Manx Radio.
And this weekend, we're giving you the chance to win a real Christmas tree and a set of lights from Ramsey Garden Centre. Call in to see their exclusive Christmas showroom with ornaments and gifts, wreaths, artificial and real trees, along with Christmas lights for indoors and out.
Visit manxradio.com and answer the competition question for your chance to win.
And on Monday morning, join us for Manx Radio Breakfast when you can find out if you're the lucky winner.
Make this your winning weekend with your nation station, Manx Radio.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
It's 29 minutes before 1 on Manx Radio. I just want to put something before you about new residents on the Isle of Man. I've mentioned this before, but not in much detail. And this fits into everything that we, with our future, with the fact that the economy has to be stimulated. We need more resources to go in. We need more taxpayers' money put into public funds. And it's the latest population report by the Cabinet Office that says the population grew by about 461 people to 84,530 in the period between the census and the end of the first quarter this year. So this, if it's accurate, returns us to the level of population last seen in 2011, 84,530. The report says that there are relatively high levels of immigration into the Isle of Man, but tempered by high numbers of deaths on the Isle of Man resulting from a relatively aged resident population and a substantial degree of outward migration combined with a low birth rate. This results in a modest increase in population numbers. New residents to the Isle of Man are on average younger than both current residents and those who leave the Isle of Man. Now, this noteworthy characteristic of many of the new residents is that 35% leave the Isle of Man within 5 years of getting here. The report states that it's possible that the reason behind this is largely or almost entirely due to career advancement opportunities elsewhere. If so, it said it would make the task of increasing the number of new residents who settle permanently a considerable challenge. Now, this latest population report from the Cabinet Office concludes that were net migration to continue at a pace similar to that in 2022, the population of the Isle of Man will be expected to reach approximately 92,000 by 2036. So, just digest some of that and figure out where our future lies regarding immigration, getting people in. Throw into it, if you want, the work permit. What do you think? Facilities for people living here, cost of housing, entertainment facilities. Where do you think, if we need more people to get the economy grinding along, what do we do? Juan's on now. Hi, Juan.
How are you, Andy?
It's a nice day today. Actually, I'm in a very, very good mood, Juan.
Good. Well, I don't want to spoil that, so let's go for this and see.
Okay.
I'm listening to the headline news. Oh, excuse me. Listen to the headline news there of the sea terminal investigation and how it was ill thought and rushed, etc. And I don't know whether your newsroom knows or not, or whether it's true. I believe a lot of the prep work that had been spent by our government on doing this now allows Peel Holdings to actually build on other land that's there because of the prep work that's done. I don't know whether Head of News maybe can look into that.
Not heard that. Why? Is this skeet, or have you seen it written down somewhere?
I've not seen it written down, no. That's why I thought I'd put it in the capable hands of the newsroom to investigate it a little bit further. But I'm looking into that. I've just been away a little bit, so I'm looking into that. And Clive Collister that was on the other day spoke very well. But I believe Clive has a background connected with Mike Profit down the line somewhere.
I think he may have worked with him. Yeah, he's worked here, there, and everywhere. Clive has. He's had a very varied career.
Yeah, Renewable Energy Holdings, I think, and I think that was the year that the shareholders lost most of their investment. But
well, I mean, I think the Mike Profit, there was something to do in Wales, wasn't there? There was was it a wind farm thing in Wales that didn't happen?
I think so, but I'm just going on the line of you asked Clive the question about the baseload, which is the question that I've been asking about these wind farms for some time, and the feedback seemed to be there, kind of unspoken. But if I play it back again, it seemed to be, no matter what, we're going to go ahead with this, and it doesn't matter about the baseload. I think that's the kind of message he seemed to be sending there, because he couldn't answer the question about the baseload.
Well, surely the baseload is Pulrose.
Well, we're the ones that's going to be suffering at the end of this, aren't we, Andy? If this doesn't work out, we're probably going to be like South Africa, and we're going to have load shedding during the day if this thing doesn't work out.
Well, I don't think we're ever going to be in the position South Africa's in, but, I mean, the fact is that Pulrose is going to be around for decades. I mean, even even if it has to be renewed, the big cathedral in Pulrose will stay there, and we'll get those 2 jet engines back in, because it's simply not... Remember, forget the fact that, Mrs. Karouche may not be able to cook her beef joint on a Sunday afternoon. We have multinational gambling companies here. And if they don't get clean electricity, of a stable type, they will run for the hills. So
You're absolutely right.
We have to get, we're in the 21st century now. We can't go back to Sunday afternoon power cuts.
You're right, and I spoke to a member of the company who was sponsoring the luncheon at the government conference, who was a big player in the gaming company over here, and I asked them the question about the base load that was needed, and it's exactly as you said, Andy, that they need that to be able to do business here. So it's very concerning that again, the June Watterson said lessons must be learned from the steam packet and rushing into these things. This seems to be history repeating itself maybe here, because for some reason they're going hell for leather on doing this by a certain time frame. So why are they getting pushed into this? Why is it getting rushed into a certain time frame where at the end of the day, we the people are the ones that's going to suffer, because everyone will make their profits and run for the hills, and your £65,000, £75,000 a year politicians will be gone and retired with a pension, and we'll be sat holding the baby. So I think, a lot of consideration has to be put in whether this is the right thing. And I still go back to, having spoken to people from Crogga and having spoken to Graham Foxhume, I still bemused at why they're not spending 1 million or 1.5 million and doing the exploratory boreholes for geothermal. Because if this works, we will have endless power for the Isle of Man at a very cheap cost for many, many, many years to come.
Well, we've got to make a decision, and government's got to make a decision. And number one is Crogga, whether or not the gas is there, what shape any sort of entity that exploits that gas field is, where the revenue comes from the Isle of Man, and of course politically how we handle the fallout. Now, of course, I noticed yesterday there's more fossil fuel now being extracted than ever before all over the world. Norway is drilling more rigs. Everybody's drilling more rigs. So surely if everybody else is doing it, why can't we? It's a decision for the government. Whether it's offshore wind, onshore wind, whether it's geothermal, whatever it is, at the end of it, I mean, I'll just go back to something Laurie Hooper said, leader of the Liberal Vannin Party, and he said, you will get public opinion behind you if you halved the cost of their electricity. If you said to everybody, this is going to halve the cost of your electricity, people would fall in straight away to this. But at the moment, we kind of get the message, this is going to cost us.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And someone's going to come on here and call me out for being a non-greenie and a fossil fuel head and all that. Well, no, because I actually agree with the green policy in common sense terms. But this seems to be very political. They seem to be following this agenda of green policy, which in some places is absolutely absurd. It's not going to work for what we've got these days. And, the Crogga thing, they already know how much is there. The exploration was done many years ago. I think, if I remember rightly, it wasn't suitable for drilling them because of the cost of gas was cheaper elsewhere. So they know that there's stuff there. And that could be our transition fuel. I mean, if we could get the money there to transition to geothermal and then be absolutely, truly self-sustainable, rather than an interconnector which is getting power from France, which is not really self-sustainable, then we could be heading to a fantastic future energy-wise here if that worked. I mean, that would be absolutely amazing. And is that maybe the problem, that politics and money are coming into this and not the actual benefits to the Manx people? Is that the problem here?
Joe, and politics and money are in everything, aren't they? So I think we're never going to get away from politics and the effect of big business, because we live in a Western democracy that's run on capitalist lines. So we made our choice with that years ago, I think. All right, Joe.
We could. Cheers, Andy.
All right, it's good to hear from you. I want to go to David, who's with us now. Hello, David.
Hi, Andy. Just a quick question, possibly, on the wind turbines. Am I missing something here? We've got a company that wants to provide free of charge and pay the Isle of Man for the use of the seabed off Mackle. And yet this government wants to spend in excess of 27 million of taxpayers' money to do the same thing on land. The wind turbines offshore will be enough power for the whole of the Isle of Man. So why are we spending taxpayers' money to build it on land when a company's going to build it offshore and at no expense of the government?
I think part of it is, I don't want to I'm not the government's mouthpiece, but I'm guessing they say it can be done quicker if we do it ourselves on land, and it would feed straight into our grid. The offshore wind farm will feed into the UK grid because it will produce so much power that I don't think our grid could even handle it. So, I mean, that's the only thing I can think of.
Well, on the BBC on Monday, I read a report about the company that's building the offshore. And it produces between 80 and I think, is it megawatts of power?
Hang on, just say that again. Say that again, David. Your signal varied a bit there.
Okay. The company that wants to do this has said that they can bring the cable to the Isle of Man, and that we would there'd be enough power to power all the needs of the Isle of Man. That's on the BBC's website from Ørsted, the company that built the biggest wind turbines in Europe, off Grimsby. So they're a very professional outfit. There's no guesswork with what they're doing. All we seem to be doing is gambling that we're going to put wind turbines on land, and when all these cranes and specialist people go off island, if anything goes wrong, they ain't coming back to put one blade on or replace one turbine. So you've got to hope that nothing goes wrong for 20 to 25 years.
So you reckon that we should put our eggs in the offshore wind basket?
Obviously, yes. Because if anything goes with one of them, you bring a floating crane on a barge and it repairs it. It can be done in a couple of days. But what they have said, Ørsted have said, if they get the go-ahead, they can start in 2025 and it should be up and running by 2030. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if that's a similar timescale to onshore.
Well, as you say, Ørsted are very experienced in doing it, so they obviously know what they're doing, and once they get started, it will probably arrive on time. But at the moment, have you noticed, nobody's given us exact figures of how much we'll get from renting our seabed to them. People talk about, hundreds of millions or billions or what have you. I'd love to know some figures, how much is it per year and for how long do we get that money? Then you can start to form some sort of strategy.
Also, I don't know whether it's just something I thought of, the suspending of the work permit. I wonder, was that a hidden agenda for when the people that come to do the onshore wind turbines, that they could just get off the ferry and go to work?
We don't know. All right, it's good to hear from you, David. Thanks for that.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cheers now. It's 1:45. If you want to find out more about this, next week you can meet the Orsted people all week long. They've got community information drop-ins on Monday at Laxey Glen Pavilion. They're all 2:30 till 7 p.m. So Laxey Glen Pavilion, meet the Orsted team, learn about the proposals for the wind farm off Mackle on our seabed. Tuesday, they're at Milntown House on the Lazaire Road in Ramsey, very posh. The Kelvin Dawson Community Hub at Peel Football Club on Wednesday, 2:30 to 7. At the Erin Arts Centre in Victoria Square, Port Erin, 2:30 till 7 on Thursday. They get Friday off. And on Saturday, the Promenade Suite at the Villa Marina. If you want to meet Orsted, you can next week.
EVF won't just fuel your car this Christmas, we'll fuel the celebrations too, with great ranges and gift ideas. Our sites across the island are an easy and convenient alternative to high street shopping. Stock up today with Ellen Vannin Fuels.
The nights are getting darker, and you know what that means. It's nearly Christmas. At Millie Chaps, you'll find all you need to add that sparkle this festive season. Decorate your home with quirky ornaments, fabulous rugs and lamps, and beautiful pictures. Millie Chaps also have a great range of unusual gifts, so don't delay. Call Santa, is that you?
Shh. Ooh, there's some great finds here at Millie Chaps.
Yes, there are. Take time to browse Millie Chaps of Ramsey, a town full of special little shops.
Walk through the northern lights into a land of ice and snow at Ramsey Garden Centre. Indoor and outdoor lights, a magical range of real and artificial trees, decorations, gifts and much more. Christmas at Ramsey Garden Centre, Albert Road.
Come on. Oh, not again. We need to go to Athol.
I only do Nissan.
Oh, don't be daft. They service and repair all makes and models.
Main dealer prices, though.
Our Nathan says it's not just about the cost per hour, as what one technician does in 3 hours, Athol might do in 1. And you get a courtesy vehicle.
Look at that. Told you we needed to come to Athol.
Oh, be quiet and drive.
Do you run a business? Think Nicola Bowker & Co. Need an accountant? Think Nicola Bowker & Co. Do you want accounts you can trust? Think Nicola Bowker & Co. All businesses, whatever your size, call today for a free initial chat.
We're all set to go for the Caroline North weekend on the Ross Revenge for November, with the greatest music from the 60s to the 90s and the return of Peter Phillips. The whole weekend is sponsored by Turton Tower Woodland Cafe, and it's all done in association with Manx Radio. Join us this weekend here at Caroline North.
Radio Caroline North, back on 648 and 1368 AM. The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
And Steve's on now. Hi, Steve.
Hi, Andy. How are you? All right?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Just following on the theme from what's been previously said, and I think you touched upon a couple of points I was going to raise, is that one of them was being, at the present moment, government, Dr. Allison goes on, there is no spare money for anything at the present moment. I spoke to you 18 months ago, 2 years ago, about Liverpool landing stage. The original costs were about 18-20 million, and I think I said at that time it would be near 100 million by the time it was going to get done, and you sort of went, no, never. The electricity seems to be going down exactly the same way. Nobody has told us yet, of you, me, the man in the street, what savings are we going to receive? Is it a benefit for the man who lives on the Isle of Man, and women obviously, and families? All it is at the moment is millions and millions going out. We've got Crogga, which is there. If there is gas there, why can't we use that, get an income, and then plan properly for wind farms, if that is going to be the future? We don't have to do everything at the present moment. Other countries in the world aren't.
You see, I can't understand, and you know, the Manx government's got an enormous communications team who presumably have got more degrees than a thermometer in public relations and media and what have you. And yet, as you say, they simply don't point out a blatant positive for the person in the street, the people of the Isle of Man. And one of the things that everybody cares about is the cost of everything.
Yeah, correct. And this is what frightens me to some degree, is that, we are playing with our children's futures here. Are we going to end up in debt to such a degree? I think, as Julian said, the politicians we have at the moment are voted in by the people on the island for the benefit of the island. It doesn't seem to be the case at the present moment. It seems to be for the benefit of people off island who are going to get it. If somebody could just come on and say, if we put the gas ashore, we will guarantee your price will go down to 7p a unit. It's 14 at the present moment. Yeah. Electricity is 40p. That will come down to 20p. So there is a saving, but nobody is saying anything.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Okay, thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Andy. Have a good day.
You too as well. Thanks for calling in. Bonzo's on now. Hi, Bonzo.
Hello. Yes, quickly to try and sort out a lot of this misinformation that's flying around. Right. The wind turbine project for MUA. The reason why it is being done by the MUA and not being placed with a private contractor is because the MUA have a legal obligation under the 1996 Electricity Act to provide generation capacity which is of best value to the Manx consumer. And the way that that's calculated has led to that it is cheapest to do it in-house. Right. Now, secondly, the initial estimates of the project, thinking about things like actually having to put turbine blades on a pier or a landing pier or something, and other things, which we're talking about sums of up to 40 million. That has gone down considerably. And indeed, the current plans announced by Tim Crogga about the Ballasalla bypass roundabout, the Beltane roundabout, which is supposed to be beginning construction in sort of first quarter 2024, next year, that will allow turbine blades and such to actually be transported from Douglas to the actual site. No landing on the beach or Castletown or anything like that. And that then allows a 4-turbine option, 5 megawatts each turbine, rather than 5 turbines, 4 megawatts. And economies of scale means that would pan out at something like, at the moment, £23 million. It may even be less. Now, where's the price benefit on this? Firstly, the wind farm input will stabilise prices. That's the first thing to do, not have prices go up any more, which the vagaries of the fossil fuel market, or the gas market, that's perfectly possible. So that insulates us against shocks. Also, the amount of power that then the wind farm can generate when there is wind, etc., means that the Pulrose turbines can be throttled back to a point where they provide baseload and baseload only, rather than providing full supply. Now, that is a considerable difference in the consumption of gas. So much so that the figures I've been informed of is that the £23 million option would pay for itself, capital expenditure, would pay for itself in four years. Now, the other reason about why they have a deadline for 2026 is because that matches the election cycle. Because if you don't have a deadline within the election cycle, as we've seen with other proposals for wind turbines, etc., nothing ever gets done. It gets kicked into the long grass. We've been talking about having wind turbines since 1994, and not one is still has gone up. The idea that we can keep kicking this can down the road is absolute nonsense.
So does the current situation fill you with confidence, Bonzo? How confident are you of government's ability to deliver this?
Well, I think government, in terms of practicality and logistics, can certainly deliver it, and they can certainly deliver it within those kind of numbers that I've been speaking about. The problem now is political.
In what way?
Oh, because various minority voices have been shouting loudest and pushing out a wide variety of disinformation to have other false dawns presented to the Manx people so that actual practical things, which can be done now, aren't, because political rows go on forever and ever and ever about whether this direction should be taken or that direction should be taken. It's perfectly obvious what needs to be done. Not faffing about for another 5 years thinking about, should we have a small nuclear reactor somewhere, or something equally ridiculous, or chasing the fool's gold of Crogga. The idea that we would get cheap gas somehow, absolutely ludicrous. Do these people not understand anything about how markets work?
Okay, all right. Appreciate that, Bonzo. Thanks for calling.
Okay then, cheers. Thanks.
That's it for Mannin Line today. Thanks to Ben on the after 1 o'clock. Chris Quirk's on, by the way. Chris Q, 1 to 3, will be on the air. And tomorrow, Chair of the Housing and Communities Board in the Cabinet Office now, David Ashford, MHK, of course, held 2 ministerial portfolios and briefly another. Long-term politician, so you want to speak to David Ashford? 2 options: call tomorrow, text, email or WhatsApp, or you can call the answer phone 682-603 or email manninline@manxradio.com. Thanks for dropping by today. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday.
WINT